But yeah, I was gonna say I'll save it for our conversation about the movie. Actually, um, okay. Now I gotta go to our YouTube and post this link, and we'll get rolling here. For anyone who's going to be watching the recording of this back, this is our first official live, and we're pretty excited about it, but we're also completely ignorant on what we're doing, so please forgive us for our failures. I was going to say we're only human, but I still wonder about you, Dima.
I'm still a robot.
I was going to say, I fully expect a Tesla truck to pull up and do some maintenance on you one day. Like, you just freeze at a hangout, and we're like, Dima? And you just send a tech out.
My yearly upgrade.
Yeah, and then everything will just make sense.
Right.
I'll just be like, okay. I can piece it all together now. So, there's our live. Oh, I'm stupid. I need to share it on my phone, so I don't know why I'm doing this on here. I'm wasting my time. Oh yeah, so Dima, if you bring up YouTube on a separate thing, you should be able to access the live chat for YouTube in case anyone gets in there.
Yeah, I think I'm in there.
I thought it'd be cool to see if anyone joins in and talks about the movie with us, possibly.
Oh. Come on, Chico. Damn.
Man, we are so freaking green at this.
Oh yeah.
This is embarrassing. All right. Copy link. Oh, Cliff put his 2-week notice on Friday.
About damn time.
Yeah, so next Friday is the last day.
Well, congratulations to Cliff.
It needs to happen. He's a grumpy old man.
Yeah.
I told him that today. He was like, "Why am I always an old man?" And I was like, "I like how you're not questioning the grumpy part."
Yeah, at least he's aware.
Yeah.
This is like 10 seconds behind.
That's the most unprofessional thing I've ever posted. Come talk to as we review No Time to Die and talk about some stuff. I'm posting it. That's it. That's what they get. All right. Oh, I should probably get back to our stream here. Hey, there we go.
There we go.
We have one viewer. Oh, wait, it's probably you.
Yeah.
Aha. That's how we get the analytics boosted. We get hundreds of computers and log into all of our different Gmail accounts. It's a master plan. What's funny is we would have to get thousands and thousands to make any kind of money worth having.
Yep.
You know, anyways.
Just get a loan from the bank real quick.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and get this started. As we are now 4 minutes in. We've wasted 4 minutes effectively.
Hells yeah.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the Eyestone Podcast. For anyone who's familiar with our show, we used to do 007 Tuesdays, where we tackled the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies. And then we went to the Daniel Craig because we thought it'd be funny to compare the two, as they are vastly different from one another. And ironically enough, the same director started both franchises. So it's pretty crazy how that works. But then because of the things that I've told you guys about with how we lost our studio and we had to get rid of somebody who was on the show, we never finished the Daniel Craig movies. And that's just not okay. It wasn't sitting right with me. I don't know about you, but I'm just like, before we get into anything else, we got to do the man some justice. We got to, spoiler alert, but the dude freaking dies at the end of the movie. he looks up at the sky, and the sky says "fuck you," and it eradicates his existence. So, yeah, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. So yeah, we're gonna get into that. I'm sure you guys have noticed we have a new title, which I didn't run by Dimitri. So if he's not okay with it, we might change it. But for right now, it's called Franchise Hump Day because I feel like we're probably gonna be doing this on Wednesdays, and if not, it's Hump Day. It doesn't say the actual day. So, anyways, but we're gonna be doing Lord of the Rings next, as people voted for it. We did a poll on Twitter and Instagram, and it smoked the Dark Knight trilogy, which kind of surprised me. But I'm actually kind of glad because I feel like I talk about Batman enough in my life. So,
Wow.
I'm excited to get into Lord of the Rings.
I've never seen them, so it'll be fun.
What? You've never seen them?
Not one.
Oh, dude, that makes it so much better. I wouldn't have even done a poll. I didn't know that. Holy crap. Dude, those movies are incredible. Oh my gosh. Wait till Matt finds out.
Oh, he's going to be so disappointed.
So yeah, we have our friend Matt who's going to be coming on, hopefully all of them if it can work out that way, but he is a big Lord of the Rings fan, so he was excited when he saw that we were going to be covering those on our franchise Hump Day. So I can't wait to tell him that you haven't watched these. He might shoot you. Okay, so yeah, I think that's about all we have going on. And then we're going to continue posting episodes Saturday. Oh, we are doing an episode with Cody, which is going to be a direct sequel to the first one we did with Cody. Can you believe that was almost a year ago?
I can't.
I mean, it's kind of wild. But, I mean, at least we're back at it finally. It took us long enough.
Yeah.
We still have to get used to this whole not being in the same room thing, because I feel like that really adds to the discussion, because it feels like we're all just hanging out, you know?
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
It works.
Yeah, it works. Figuring out this crap was the only thing.
Yeah.
But today's setup, because, you know, I had to do it like 20 times on our mock stream, it was quick. Like, I had the tabs already open and everything.
Yeah.
And I was smart. I set the stream up last night in StreamYard. So I opened
I got that link.
No, that was to make you a co-host. So you have
Okay.
administrative abilities on our channel now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But no, I sent that while I was setting up, because I was just looking at all the features that we get in the free version. You know, I might eventually do the cheap subscription plan, but we'll see. But anyway, so I set it up. I had it ready to go today. I made a nice smooth start. But for anyone who's tuned in, we've still made you wait almost 10 minutes before we get into what we're here for. So you're welcome for that. I love procrastinating. Have I told you guys? Hold on. Well, so I recorded an episode. It's going to get posted Saturday. So now you're going to think I'm really fat when you see that. Look at these bad boys. Crumble cookie. Oh, yeah. That's all the rage, man. And what's funny is in that episode, I acted like that was my cheat day, but I'm sitting here with a plate of them right now. So I've lost 12 pounds in the past month. All right. So
I've gained like 2 probably.
Well, I'm cutting for the movie. I don't know if I told you that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, for my secret role in JJ Sundry. Because I got to look the part.
Right.
So, yeah.
I still haven't been to the gym.
But I also wanted to look a little bit more, well, I don't want to be spoilery here. Well, you'll know, I wanted to look a little bit more intimidating. Physically.
Okay.
You know, so like, I don't want to be fat, but I still don't want to be scrawny.
Right.
Yeah, so anyways. Okay, are you ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, before we start our show, I'm sure you guys have noticed we haven't played our intro. We always have an intro at the beginning of our shows. And I thought it would only be right for the last time to play our original 007 Tuesdays intro.
Hey.
What?
I got an idea for the intro for the podcast.
Okay.
Check it out.
We're like Force ghosts. This is so stupid.
Love it.
I'm sure you guys noticed there that had our old title because now it's Eye of Stone. I liked how that sounded. Sounded better, I thought. Anyways, how do we have women in our lives?
I don't know. It's a miracle.
Someone should probably do a study on that. Wow, man. You know what's funny is I can't remember if it's the episode that's coming out this Saturday or prior, but I've talked about because we had someone question us about our TikTok that had Cowboy Ed and Brisk Bryce on it. And they were like, have you guys ever thought about utilizing any of the skits or characters that you did on that TikTok for the podcast? And I was like, not really. And that did inspire me to do the little video I sent you last night.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I might share on here later. We'll see. But yeah, so anyways, I just thought I was thinking about it and I was like, the last Cowboy Ed and Brisk Bryce thing we did was for the Bond intro, which is so stupid and random, but anyways, yeah.
It worked.
We may have problems. Okay, so no time to die. Let's get into this. Dimitri, before we begin, what is your rating? And we're just going to do the classic, what was it, 5?
5 stones.
5 stones, yeah. We're just going to go back to that. Stones.
Probably 4.
Okay. That's my rating.
Okay.
Yeah. It was almost a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I can explain that here in a little bit. But just to say it up front, I think Spectre is the best Bond movie in this series.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's mainly because of Christoph Waltz, who plays the villain.
Yes.
But there's something about Spectre and Bond, you know, he's like not with MI6 and he finds his own means to infiltrate the Spectre meeting where he learns about, you know, who's running it. I don't know. There was something about that movie that just really worked for me.
Yes.
And I have a kind of weird opinion that you may or may not agree with. This movie doesn't really feel like a James Bond movie. It feels like a movie to commemorate James Bond.
I can see that. I agree.
Okay. Because, as you know, I rewatched this movie yesterday and today. Part 1, part 2. And yeah, the whole time I'm sitting here thinking like this movie is filmed beautifully, which I'll get more into that. And the story, in my opinion, has no flaws. It's very well thought out.
Yes.
I like that in Daniel Craig's Bond movies, every movie matters. Everything is referenced. Every character, even if they died early on, they mean something even at the end.
Yeah.
So all that's great. And I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, this is awesome. But then I had this realization and kind of skipping ahead, but it's when he meets up with Ana de Armas to infiltrate the whatever it is, the what do you call it? That party that's happening, and then like everybody's a part of Spectre.
Yeah, where he meets up with home. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember her name,
Paloma.
but it's Ana de Armas, and she's like, oh, I've only had 3 weeks of training and whatever.
Yeah.
And she takes him back into this pantry or whatever, and she has like a tux to give him. And he put it on, and I was like, oh, yeah, he looks like James Bond.
Yes.
And then that's when it hit me. I was like, he hasn't really been James Bond this movie. He's a guy that's like retired and trying to live a normal life.
Yeah.
And he's getting hunted down by people, and it's like, what the fuck?
Right.
So yeah, I understand that it's just the way they wanted to finish the movie, and it works for me. It's very good, but it doesn't feel like that classic James Bond movie.
No, it's definitely a send-off movie. It was more to wrap it up and put a bow on it, but to give us James Bond,
Yeah,
with one more action pack, like
we're live. I'm waiting for one of my dogs to hit the camera.
But yeah, it was just a send-off. That's the way I see it, and I think with the way they built Daniel Craig up with this series, it was the perfect way to send him off.
I agree. They always say that when you love something, there's no good way to end it.
Correct.
But I actually like how they end this series.
Yes.
But I don't want to start talking about the end. I want to actually
Right.
try to do a play-by-play here. I love the opening of this movie.
Yeah.
It's like a shot of the trees in snow, and it's like direct bird eye view. It's such a cool beginning shot, and you're just like following the trees, like almost like you're a bird looking down and you're flying.
Right.
And then it goes into what I will just sum up as almost a horror movie scene or sequence. Because you've got a girl and her mom in this desolate, frozen land, and there's a guy slowly in Michael Myers fashion marching toward the house, and you just know he's going to try to kill them.
Yeah.
Before we have any context, you just got that feeling. And I got creeped out when she goes downstairs to do whatever for her mom, and you can, in the background, just see him slowly. I was like, oh my gosh.
They played on the acoustics are terrible in here. They played on.
I think you sound fine on my end, just so you know.
Okay, perfect. I keep hearing the echo behind me, so I'm like freaking out.
It's fine. It's better than your basement.
I'll take it. But yeah, they played on the creepiness of that very well. Like you said, from the second that we saw the dude until the typical James Bond theme song came about. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Hans Zimmer did a great job with the soundtrack to really build on that in that sequence.
Timeout. Hans Zimmer scored this movie, and I did not know that.
I thought you did. I could be mistaken.
What am I doing with my life? Oh?
Oh, no. Nope, well, maybe it wasn't.
It's Hans Zimmer.
Was it? Okay.
That explains it. Okay.
Okay, wow. I thought I was going crazy.
Well, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. So that's why I love doing this kind of shit.
There we go. But yeah, he was his typical self with his soundtrack, and it really helped that scene and the creepiness behind it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you got the mask.
Yeah.
And then in like a classic horror movie trope, you know, it was kind of cool though how they made it look like she shot him.
Yeah.
And drags him down and outside, and then he's like still alive, of course, and then he's chasing her and she falls through the ice, and it's like, okay. But then he saves her.
Yeah. And I saw that coming. I was like, that's really typical. As soon as I saw her on the ice, I was like, yeah, it's going to crack. She's going to fall through, and then he's going to save her.
Yeah. And then I like how we don't really get to revisit that until almost near the end of the movie. You know, because that kind of is what leads up to the final act.
Yes.
So yeah, great intro. And we cut from that because I actually made a remark on this in my notes, but I remember it was just so cool how they edited it. But when she's coming up through the ice after he shoots the ice, it goes whoop, and then she comes up through the water and she's an adult, and she's
Mhm.
on that beach with Daniel Craig.
Yep.
Such a clean transition.
No, it was.
And it's like, you know, instantly, like, oh, that's her as an adult now.
Yep.
And she's dating James Bond, because
Of
we're
course.
introduced to her in Spectre because she was the pale man or whatever his name is, daughter. And like when Bond goes to kill him or whatever, he's like, please take care of my daughter. And then,
Yeah.
so that's how they meet. So it's crazy. And that's what I like, because if you didn't watch Spectre and you watch this movie, you'd be like, it's really convenient that the Bond villain has some hold over James Bond's girlfriend.
Right.
You know, but in context, it's just, I don't know, it's the way they write these movies is brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then we have the whole thing with Bond looking like he's living a nice, peaceful life, but he goes to revisit the grave of what's her face. I can't even remember right now, but his first love interest in the series that dies.
Yeah.
And because, you know, somebody knew that he would want to visit that one day, he had impending doom waiting on him.
Right.
And that just starts this whole sequence of chaos where he's like, shit, I got people trying to kill me still. And when he picks that card up, it has the Spectre symbol on it. So he just knows immediately, like, fuck, I am not done with this shit. I am going to start a gripe because, you know, I have a thing for the henchmen of the Bond villains. Like, Bond villains are always cool. I can't really think of one, at least in the modern Bond films, that I was like, eh. But the henchmen always have like a distinguishing feature physically and some crazy name or whatever. This one doesn't do it for me. And I actually think it's one of the weakest points of this movie is Cyclops. You know, he's got one eye.
Yeah.
And then the other eye's robotic. So that, what's Christoph Waltz's character? Blofeld. Yeah, Blofeld.
Yeah.
So Blofeld can see what's going on. And that idea is cool. I, for one, don't like the actor. I don't think he does a good job. He literally looks like he read a script and it says act like a bad guy. And he's just acting mean and serious the whole time. Like, he doesn't have any depth to him.
Right.
You know, I think good Bond villains, their henchmen have just as much depth to them as, you know, the person they're working for. Yeah. I really liked Dave Bautista in Spectre. He was just silent and cold, and he didn't try to. And see, I guess this kind of goes against what I just said, but this is an example of how it could work. He's not sitting there trying to look like a bad guy. He's wearing suits. He just stands next to people and he's quiet. And then when he's given a task, he just tries to execute it. And that whole fight sequence with him and Bond on the train is fucking next level. Like, it's so good. So that worked for me. So to go from that to bitch boy Cyclops, I don't know. And it's too bad because he's a part of some of my favorite sequences in this movie, because he's obviously working directly for Spectre and Blofeld. So, but we'll get into that. All right. Talked about the mask. Cool transition. Bond being retired and happy. Vesper. That's her name. That's the headstone he visits. Yes. Vesper. Yes. Okay. This is almost my favorite sequence in the movie, but the cinematography isn't there. It's just shot, and it's fine. It's shot well, but they didn't try to do anything crazy like they did with my actual favorite sequence, which actually follows not too long after this. When him and Madeline are in the car, right? So he gets attacked. He goes back to their home, and he's like, how did they find me?
Right.
And he's immediately just suspecting her. Like, they get in his car. They're trying to get away, and they get pinned, and they're surrounded. And he's just sitting there, and he's not even flinching, dude. That car is getting lit up.
Yes.
And, I was listening to it with my headphones.
Right.
And I'm just like, God, like the sound on that it's amazing the way they did that. And we get the classic Bond car moment. Like, that is so cool. Like, she's like, do something. He's just like, fine. And just takes the lights down and miniguns come out.
Yeah.
He starts going in a donut, taking people out. And then the smoke screen coming out of the exhaust.
Yes.
And that's what I like. It's like it's paying homage to the Pierce Brosnan cars that were just freaking ridiculous.
Gadgets.
Yeah, like they had a Batman hook that would come up so
Yeah.
the Batmobile could climb a building kind of crap. But no, like it was still practical in my opinion. It made sense. Like that wouldn't be too hard to set a car up that can have guns that come out of the headlights and you have a smoke screen coming out of the exhaust. So it worked. It still fits this grounded Bond that we have. Well, kind of grounded.
As much as we can.
Yeah. So that was badass. But like I said, there's nothing too crazy with the cinematography done there. So that it's almost my favorite sequence in the entire movie because it's so cool. But again,
I think that's what they wanted though from that scene. They wanted to keep it as simple as they could.
Yeah. Yeah.
To build on the other fight scenes. And I completely am for that because I'd rather it be simple in the beginning and then really build up towards the end versus the other way around.
So here are my notes. This is where I looked up on IMDb this henchman's name because he gets his eye the fake eye knocked out in that sequence. His name, and I saw it was Cyclops. I was like, okay. He has one eye. He's Cyclops. But this goes into my favorite sequence in this movie. When I called them SEAL Team Spectre. When they infiltrate the MI6 building to get the scientist, it starts off, they're climbing the building, and it's like, okay, cool, they're about to go through a window. But then the camera inside the building is upside down. So they are coming down to the window, but because the camera is upside down, it looks like they're coming up to it, which is trippy because they're standing upright, which would look normal. Like, okay, they're on their feet. But then as they do the laser thing to the window, the camera turns as they come in. And I'm just like, dude, that is masterful cinematography right there. Like, you took the most simple shot that's been in so many movies, and because you put it upside down, and it's a single shot, and then it turns, you sold. I'm like, yes, this is the greatest thing ever. It's funny how that works. Like, just somebody was like, you know what? Let's do this upside down.
Right.
Like, and it's just so cool. It's so cool. So yeah, that's my favorite sequence is them infiltrating the building. And it's solely because of that introduction to SEAL Team Spectre, as I call it. I just thought that was so cool. And I like that they just come off as absolute pure villains. Like, they're there on a mission. They want to know, hey, who's Dr. So-and-so? They're like, I need access to this locker or whatever. And he's like, oh, I need double verification. They're like, who? And he points to the guy. And as those two are getting escorted away, they're freaking massacring everyone else.
Yes.
Like, you're no longer needed.
Right.
Like, holy shit. And then when they do the double verification and they get into the thing, then they kill the other guy.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Just cold exit. Like, again, they're just there to do a job and they're doing it. No questions asked. And that's why Spectre's been so successful because, efficiency.
Right.
So yeah, that whole sequence to me, it just really establishes, in case it's been a while since you've watched Spectre and you're watching this movie, like, oh yeah, Spectre is the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, not something you want to be associated with. So yeah, that was personally my favorite sequence in the entire movie. And again, nothing crazy's happened. It's all normal bad guy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just that introduction to them made them feel like this otherworldly thing almost. Like, oh, I saw him scaling down the building, but it looks like he's coming up to it because the camera's upside down. I don't know. It's so stupid, but you know me. I'm a freaking nut for some well-executed camera work. I can't pronounce the scientist's name. It's like Valdo Abatrov or something.
What was that?
But basically, Valdo is an MI6 scientist, and you see him joking around with his coworkers,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gets a phone call, and it kind of lets you know, okay, this guy is involved in something else. Well, you come to find out that he's working for the bioterrorist, who we haven't been introduced to yet, but he's betraying MI6 essentially.
Right.
And he's important throughout the movie, so I just wanted to establish that now. Like, this guy is kind of carrying the center of the plot throughout the movie, and from this point till the final act, that's kind of how we get there. Is like everyone's trying to get a hold of him, trying to get a hold of the nanobots that he possesses. So it's important to highlight that. His last name's I know his first name's Valdo. I just can't pronounce his last name.
Abrushev. It's very Russian of him.
Yeah. So then next we come back to Bond, which we kind of skipped over this, but after all the craziness with Madeline, he puts her on a train and tells her, "You're never going to see me again." Like,
right.
He's just kind of come to this conclusion that he can't be with somebody. Like, he can't trust anybody. Spectre is always going to find a way to get leverage on people and make them do things against him.
Yeah.
So Theo's being bad. Yeah. That's the only thing about being in the house is the dogs.
Yes.
My dogs don't bark. They don't make noises. But, like, Theo's in that cone right now. He's not supposed to be biting on himself and shit.
Right.
And he's been getting flexible and reaching his tail, so.
Sounds about right.
Fucking dogs. Anyways, all right. Back to what I was saying. So now, after all the craziness at the MI6 building with the scientists, and he gets kidnapped and yada yada, we see Bond is retired once again. He's got some little hut in a village, and he's off the grid. And a lot of alcohol bottles on the bar in that house. But he comes back from this swim or whatever bath he's doing, and he can tell someone's been in his home.
Right.
But I love that he doesn't really investigate it past just observing, like, someone's been here. And I mean, I don't know if you connected the dot, but it was Felix.
Yeah.
And it's the cigar, because he picks up the cigar butt, and then later, when Felix is the one that hooks him up with Ana de Armas, when they're done with their little mission, whatever, she's like, "Oh, here, give this to Felix," and it's a cigar.
Yeah.
And I was like, nice. Like, I was wondering who was in his home earlier, and you just told me through a freaking cigar.
Yes.
So that was nice. But anyways, I almost think Bond knew that. That's why he wasn't freaking out. But so he's going into town and whatever, and he goes to that bar, and we don't know it at the time, but we're being introduced to the new 007.
Yes.
Which I'm going to say something. If it gets me canceled, I don't care. I don't like her. I don't like what they're trying to do there.
Nami.
Is that her name?
I think so.
I can't remember. I'm just going to be honest with you. She is very unimportant to the movie.
She is.
And it just feels like, I don't know if they were testing the waters or if it was just like it would be cool if the new 007 is the complete opposite of the old one.
That's probably what it was.
But either way, it just doesn't work for me because she is not good at acting.
Yeah.
I don't like her acting. That's why it doesn't work for me. If you aren't good at acting the role, then the story that's written won't be sold to me. So I'm not saying that a different actor or actress couldn't have done that, and I would have been like, okay, I like this idea. Right. I'm just saying she specifically did not work for me. I didn't like any scenes with her and Daniel Craig. I don't think they have a dynamic that works. like an on-screen chemistry, you know. Right. It just didn't. I didn't believe it. Like they have these little interactions where they're kind of doing insults to each other, and like when they're at MI6 headquarters and they're walking next to each other, and the one lady says, "Oh, 007," like talking to her, and she was like, "You don't like that or something," and don't like how that feels. But then like when she finds out that M only wants to talk to Bond, he's like, "Oh, you don't like." It's like I don't know. That stuff just didn't work for me. I don't know. And it's her fault because Daniel Craig is killing it.
Right.
Like he is James Bond.
Yes.
So, I just got to get that out of the way now because I'm not really going to talk about her too much. Yeah. But essentially, him going into town after realizing someone's been in his home is to introduce you to her.
Yep.
But to also make you realize that Felix has found Bond. And he also has a new right-hand man.
Yeah, Logan Ash.
Logan Ash, yeah. I like when Bond says he smiles too much. Thought that was funny. But anyways, Bond essentially gets recruited by the CIA to look into this missing, bioweapon.
Right.
That was made by MI6. We come to find out. So no wonder they're trying to, figure this shit out. Because they don't want it to get in the wrong hands for obvious reasons. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that whole sequence? Because then after that, his car doesn't work. He gets a ride with the new 007. Blah, blah, blah. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's whatever. Because it's mainly about her. And
yeah, I mean, it was cool seeing Felix again. And I like the way they brought him into it. And
that's what I was going to remark on that because he's not in Skyfall or Spectre.
Right. So
we haven't seen him for 2 movies.
Yeah.
And I really Jeffrey, right? He's just a great actor.
Right.
In general. Like I was excited when I saw him in Casino Royale. Yes. I was like, oh. But yeah, then he was gone and I was like, did they write his character off? But no, it was cool to see him come back.
And then I liked Billy Magnuson, whatever.
Logan Ash, yeah, me too. I thought he was doing a good job of playing like that typical agent that's just like, oh, I'm a fan of yours, and blah, blah, blah.
Right? Yeah, just fangirling over James Bond. And neither one of them cares what he has to say.
Exactly.
But other than that, like you, I just was like, okay, this is just a part of the movie to move us forward.
Yeah, exactly. Dima, we have 2 viewers right now.
Me and you?
Yeah. No, it just updated.
Hells yeah.
So there might be a way. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, ignore us for getting excited about that, but
it's the little things in life.
It really is. So, anyways, I want to get to the part where he meets up with Ana de Armas because I think that whole scene is another strong reminder of why Spectre is a real threat. Yeah. For one, I love that there's a lot of layers of deception going on. Mm-hmm. So, like, Bond really thinks they're sneaking into this gala or whatever it is without anyone knowing.
Right.
And then he comes to find out everybody there was waiting for this moment.
Yes.
And that whole scene is so cool when he can kind of hear the communication. Mm-hmm. And he's talking to Ana de Armas's character. He's like, Blumfield. She's like, is he here? He's like, no. But he's just looking around and everyone's like, and it's like he's almost piecing together that there's something going on. Like something big is going on. But before he can figure it out, it just starts to culminate around him.
Right.
Because he realizes everyone is staring at Cyclops, who's holding the eye, and he can hear Blumfield talking. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool, like that whole thing, because Blumfield thinks he has Bond and he's about to die. Like, here comes this, bio weapon, and he literally says, like, it's falling on you now and tearing you apart, blah, blah, blah. But then everyone in Spectre starts to drop to the floor.
Yep.
And the crazy thing was, adding to the layers of deception here, the scientist is watching at a distance, and he's like, yes, it's working.
Right.
So it's like, whoa. we thought you were working for Spectre.
Well, they kind of hinted that because when he drops the little flash drive looking thing, he grabs the other one out of the sock and then shoves it in. And then I think it said everyone or something like that.
Yeah. But it's just crazy that like Blumfield, who's literally run the show since the first Bond movie, because in Spectre you find out all the bad guys were all tentacles of the octopus,
right?
And Blumfield was the head. So it's like he's been running the show. He's been the shadows of everything throughout every movie. But then somehow somebody has duped him.
Yep.
And it's just like it's a cool scene. It's really cool. And
it was very well choreographed too. Like more of the behind the scene things, like Anna or Anna, whatever her name is, did a great job, because even though she only had her 3 weeks of training, which I thought was bullshit.
That was a joke, because he even says 3 weeks of training. She was like something like that.
Yeah, and but it's cool to see her in action, because she made it believable too. Like
Paloma is her name. Yeah,
and
I wanted to say Pamela, and I was like, I think it was something like that, but not. Yeah. Which, by the way, I like her as an actress. I really liked her in this role because she gave off that like rookie feel. Like, I'm a new CIA agent. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Let's do this. Like she played that off very well. But then when shit hit the fan,
she kicked ass.
She whooped ass. And I found a video. I actually meant to share it on here. There's a behind the scenes of her training for this sequence. Dude, she put in work. Like she learned hand-to-hand combat. She learned hand-to-hand combat while holding an M5. Like, like she did the work just for her little, 10 minutes in this movie. And that's cool. It's really cool. But it was also cool just to see Bond doing a CIA mission. Like we're not an MI6. We're going to have somebody there waiting for you. You guys are going to work together. You've never met, but it's going to work. Like we got our shit together.
Right. I wish they would have kept her around a little longer, or at least brought her back in towards the end.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
But it wouldn't have worked.
Like I said, it really establishes this is how the CIA does things.
Yes.
Like, we're not just going to put you out there and then get mad at you when you do what we want you to do.
Right.
Because that kind of felt like the relationship between the OGM and Bond.
Right.
It's like, Bond, I have a mission for you. You need to do these things, and then I'm going to be mad at you for doing them.
Right.
It's like, okay. Cool. I liked it. It was cool. And it is almost my favorite sequence in the movie. But again, you got to sprinkle in that little cinematography magic, which there really isn't. Although it is cool when the nanobots start to fall from the ceiling and he looks up and Spectre's symbol is right there in the middle. Like, Spectre was the umbrella above you the whole time.
Right.
It's cool. Just cool little symbolisms like that, and double meaning. And I don't know. So anyways, we get past that. They part ways. Bond has the doctor and Felix's cigar. But then, actually, prior to that, I guess we should talk about the new 007.
Yeah, she comes in, takes him.
She takes him for a hot minute. But then she gets freaking suppressed fire on her ass. And she's outnumbered, So, and Bond has some help. So there's all that craziness. And if I'm not mistaken, is this where Felix and Ash meet up with Bond and he has the scientist, or am I skipping ahead?
No, it's right after this sequence.
Okay, I thought
he takes him to the plane. The plane goes to the boat.
Yeah. Okay.
And they have him.
Yeah. Logan Ash, but okay. So we get to where basically Bond's interrogating the scientist, and Ash is speaking a little loudly, and a little more seriously toned than he has been throughout the movie. And it's kind of questionable. Like, whoa, why are you so worried about this?
Yeah.
Like, even Felix is just standing there watching. Like, I don't care. Bond, do your thing. And then he gets to the point where he's like, shit, I'm about to be outed.
Yeah.
And he essentially kills Felix.
Yeah.
You know, that gunshot is what kills him.
Yep.
And it's sad. But I'm not going to lie. I remember the first time I watched this movie, that did catch me off guard. It did surprise me.
Yes.
So kudos to that actor because he did such a good job with the fanboy, you know, CIA agent.
Right.
I never would have thought like, oh, he's going to turn. And even more so to justify that, Bond commenting on how he smiles too much, that felt a little too direct. Like, oh, Bond's trying to tell us this guy smiles too much. We need to be suspicious of him. So in my brain, that makes me think they want me to be concerned because, you know, what's going on right now is there's this underlying bad guy who we didn't know it at the time, but we're introduced to him in the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
So we don't know who he is. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know what his name is or what his motivations are. We know nothing. All we know is that he's effectively taking out all of Spectre except for Blumfield. And we don't know what he's going to do after that.
Yeah.
So we are trying to pay attention to that, and they don't want us to. So we get surprises like we just did in that previous scene, where we think Spectre is about to kill Bond, and it's like, nope, here's this other thing that reversed your plans.
Yeah.
So I look at Bond pointing out Ash being suspicious, if you will, as a distraction. You know, I'm like, no, you want me to pay attention to him, but he's really just a background character.
Right.
So this all worked into tricking me effectively.
Yeah. Today was the first time I watched it. And
oh, like this movie in general?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I didn't know that. I don't remember most of it. So when I watched it yesterday and today, a lot of it was like, oh yeah, I forgot about. Oh yeah. So
there's a lot in it though.
Oh, it's a big movie.
But I didn't realize Ash was what's that word I'm looking for? He was a double agent pretty much.
Yeah.
Until the doctor or Bond asked him like, who do you work for or who told you to do this or some shit like that. And then you can kind of see the doctor like look past Bond, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I probably should have picked up on that earlier, but I didn't see that coming at all. Not until he started getting loud, and I was like, this is weird. And then that look, I was like, it's him. And then Felix gets shot immediately. Pretty much at the same time. I was like, fuck.
And something I really liked about that scene, though, is Bond, almost in any iteration of Bond, he gets these attachments to people, but besides M, it never feels like it's I don't want to say it never feels like it's real, but it never feels like it's substantial enough to last past the film that you're watching. Yeah. Right. And this series of Bond films, they've already broken that with his love interests.
Right.
So I like that we have a more realistic Bond in the sense of just being a human being.
Yeah.
Like no matter how trained you are, no matter what happens to you, you're a human being. You are going to have these attachments.
Right.
And he has that for Felix, which I really liked because me being a fan of Felix as a character, anytime he shows up, I'm just like, yes, him and Bond working together. Love it. So it's cool that we get that confirmation that Bond liked it just as much as us.
Yes.
Because he did not want him to die.
Yeah.
And he was very upset about it.
Daniel Craig did a great job at portraying that too. And I feel like that played a big part into it. Just him being able to pull that emotion, Bond's emotion out, just was a perfect, cherry on the top of the way they wrote that and wrote his attachment for Felix.
Yeah. So next we get introduced to the main antagonist.
Yes.
So it's the scene where, because Madeline is a therapist,
Right.
and who is sitting in a chair waiting for her as a supposed new patient?
Yep. Good old Safin,
yeah. But basically, the guy that's wearing the mask in the beginning of the movie. So
Rami
the guy
Malek.
the guy that killed her mom, yeah,
Right.
I love him as an actor. Yeah, the guy that killed her mom and saved her in the beginning of the movie. You know, that's essentially who we're being introduced to right now. And
well, it's cool how they did that because at least for me, when I watched it, I didn't realize that was the same person until the mask came out, and I was like, shit.
Yeah, no, the first time you watch, I remember that from my first watch through, but I do remember thinking like, oh, what's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And then, all right, there's the mask. And that was a cool way to let her know.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as soon as she saw that, it was just like, oh, shit.
Yep.
And I like how simply put his plans are.
Yes.
It's not like this big, elaborate thing he has to explain. It's, I saved your life. That means we are just as attached as the people that I kill.
Yes.
And I not only have this favor that you owe me, but I also have something on you that you love more than anything. And she's like, no, everything I love's gone. That was Theo knocking my camera over. Move your butt. And then he's like, are you sure about that?
Right.
And he doesn't even have to say Bond.
Yeah.
She just knows.
Well,
And
I
she's
almost wonder if they only want us to think Bond, but he really meant her kid.
I hadn't thought about that.
Because
you know what? Yes, Dima.
At the end of the day,
yeah,
she loved Bond and she was heartbroken. But any decent parent is going to agree that their kid is the most important thing in their life. And anyone will do anything to make sure that for this example, the bad guy is not going to hurt that child, even if it means killing the one lead that they will have.
I had not thought about that. I think you're spot on because, and that was a great play on us as the audience, because at this point, we don't know that she has a daughter.
Yes.
So we're sitting there thinking, oh, he's talking about Bond. Yep. She as a character is thinking, my daughter.
Yes.
This guy knows about my daughter that I've been trying to hide from the world.
Yep.
And we later find out that is 007 James Bond's daughter.
Yep. Good
Crazy.
Old Bond Jr. over here.
Yeah. Yeah. So that reveal was so cool because it's like you're revealing who you are, but you're revealing what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
He wants to kill, but I keep forgetting his name. Blofeld.
Yes.
Because that is the last remaining piece of Spectre, which he has efficiently cleared.
Yeah.
Completely. And Q, who on side quest is kind of looking into everything, realizes that not only does this guy want to kill Spectre, he wants to take out a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like he has big plans for this bioweapon, the nanobots.
Yeah, so, he was Thanos.
Yeah, it goes from being it's crazy. It's almost just like a new bully at school showing up and realizing that they're not going to mean shit unless they effectively take out the first bully that was there. Yeah. That's a terrible analogy, but it's just kind of it's like if you're the new big bad, but there's an old big bad, you got to take that out first.
Yeah.
So because it's like, yeah, he could have just released this thing on the whole world, but egotistically, he had to let Spectre know, I can beat you.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of funny because, I always talk about villains in movies and they could almost achieve their goals, but they have a mental hang up on something. Yeah. And that's ultimately what, sabotages their plans.
Yeah.
It's like, if this dude just stole that virus,
Right.
took them to this fucking island, found a way to spread it throughout the world. You've won.
Yeah.
But you're just hung up on this idea and you can't let it go, and that's where Bond takes advantage.
Yes.
So yeah, great introductory to him. We kind of connect a bunch of pieces, and he, of course, wants her to go visit Blofeld with the nanobots that are designed to target his DNA
Yes.
to effectively kill him. And she's the only one he will see because that is his trusted therapist.
Right.
So it's all very well thought out, and it's like, holy shit. Because then, while that storyline is going on, we also have Bond, who's over here talking to the new M, and he's telling him, like, Blofeld is still doing things. This guy showed up at that party, and everyone was Spectre.
Yep.
And he's like, fuck, you know. So then he's like, well, we need to go just look at it. We need to see what's going on. So we got Madeline coming down the hallway on this end, Bond coming down on this end, and it's very awkward exchange because the last time they saw each other, he put her ass on a train and said, bye-bye.
You'll never see me again.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. And
5 years later.
yeah, like while you were out, you know, drinking on a beach, I had our daughter and had a full-time job and shit. So thanks, Dick. No, but so they meet in the hallway. I think it's funny how Bond puts his hand out and like says doctor, whatever her last name is, and she's just like, Bond. Like, it's like, okay.
But I feel like she did that to keep him away so he wouldn't grab the nanos.
Well, yeah, but maybe. I guess her knowledge of it wouldn't, because I was going to say it wouldn't affect Bond, but she probably wouldn't know that, I guess.
But I think it was more so like she was worried that he would do something to fucking what's his face.
Oh, yeah.
And kill him without realizing it. And I got that feeling whenever he grabbed her forearm and she like freaked out for a second and just left. And then it ended up happening.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Well, it still just makes for an awkward exchange.
No, it does.
And yeah, it's a kind of funny moment. But then they go into this room together, and nothing establishes this guy is a bad guy like a high-level maximum security prison, right? Like
fucking getting carted in.
Dude, I mean, he's like fucking 5 football fields away. Like, I almost want to make like a TikTok where he's just constantly coming toward you, but he just never shows up. And it just shows Bond like standing there with Madeline, but then it cuts to like them like having sex. It cuts to them with their daughter. It cuts to him fishing, and then it cuts to him like doing shit in the other. Like he does all this stuff,
right?
And then he comes back. Blofeld's just still coming. Like I don't know, but yeah, it's funny how far away he is. But it just makes you feel like this guy is seriously bad news, you know. And I like that. Like it's not necessary because Christoph Waltz is a great actor, and he is my favorite Bond villain ever. Which is crazy because he has the smallest amount of screen time of any Bond villain ever. And dialogue is even smaller.
Yes.
Most of his scenes in Spectre are just his silhouette.
Right.
And he listens to people talk, but he's very mysterious, and you know, he's got a alter ego. He's got a whole other identity, and yeah, it's crazy. But it just makes for such a good villain. And when he does speak, it means something.
Yes.
So, yeah, Christoph Waltz sells that role on his own, but then you add this, like I said, super high max level security shit. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just an awesome presentation for an awesome villain played by an awesome actor.
Yeah.
But we already know that this exchange between him and Bond is going to be something special, which it is. Madeline bails. Like, she starts freaking out. Bond even comments, he's like, you're breathing heavy. And she's like, oh, but, you know, I'm just nervous. I mean, the situation we're in. Yeah. But she's freaking out. She's like, I can't go through with this. And it's just funny how, like, Because I was thinking about how Blofeld like literally can see them standing there, and he's getting closer, and he's probably like, "Oh, company." And then the one chick who's approved to come see him scurries out of the room before. So I was picturing him sitting there like, "Oh." Now it's just me and my brother, not really brother, but my brother who probably wants to kill me. So that's cool. Yeah, so I just thought that was funny. But then Bond, of course, tries to stop her. He grabs her hand, unknowingly gets the nanobots on him. So he doesn't know it, but he's about to effectively eradicate Spectre with one hand.
Yeah.
So it's kind of also brilliant writing to have Bond kill this thing that he's been going after since the first movie.
Yes.
And he doesn't even know he's about to do it. Again, levels of deception, and it's just so cool. But their exchange of dialogue is great. I mean, it's basically like Bond just wants to know who the fuck is able to outdo you.
Yeah.
Who reversed your attempt to kill me? I'm still standing here. Why aren't you mad about this?
Right.
And Blofield's just like, hey, it happens. You know, like he's just playing mind games with Bond, trying to get under his skin still. I love that.
Yes.
I'm like, you've been locked away for like 6 years. You've literally seen one chick. You talk to yourself, and that just happens to come through a camera feed. But you're literally nothing to the world. So all this time goes by, and you're still just like, I will fuck with you, Bond. Like, okay. And of course, Bond's getting fed up with him and tries a little, intimidation.
Get a little choky.
Yeah, a little hands on. And then, of course, what's his face is like, Bond, you can't do that. While they're talking, Bloodfield just dies.
Yeah.
They turn around, and he's just checked out. He took that check and went home. So, yeah, that was crazy. And then this is where we really learn about the nanobots. That they are basically this thing MI6 came out with. And I actually have the full explanation for this. So the bioweapon is called Heracles. It's a DNA targeting assassination nanotechnology developed in collaboration with the British Secret Intelligence Service, CIS or MI6.
Mm-hmm.
It is featured prominently in this movie. So that's the backstory. And we learned from M when he's talking to Bond that they were trying to create this as a quicker, efficient way to get rid of targets.
Yes.
They never intended, which it's the case with any weapon of mass destruction. Like, it's never intended to kill a lot of people. But that's what ended up happening because things always get in the wrong hands.
Yes.
So we learn a lot about this, and we learn that it can be literally targeted to just one person's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important for the final act.
Yes.
Because that honestly is what really kind of got me emotionally involved at the end of this movie, which I can't say a lot of Bond movies have done that. No. Like, I'll be on the edge of my seat. I'll be like totally in with the story, but emotionally involved. Like when his love interests die, like I said, they never have mattered in the past.
Right.
So I'm like, even if Daniel Craig's acting his fucking ass off, I'm just like, you're James Bond. You'll find another one. You know? So even M, Judi Dench's M.
Right.
I just didn't have that emotional. I was like, I know they as characters have this emotional attachment.
Yes.
And it was sold to me greatly. But I personally wasn't like, oh, M, I was just like, okay, they're moving on. I get it.
Yeah.
There it is. Yes, Dima. Bandit. That's for you, Jordan. He's gonna kick something if you watch this. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, anyways, Jordan loves Dima's dog, who pissed on him.
That's so funny. That was so funny.
So, anyways, the ending of this movie actually emotionally got me involved, and that really, it almost made this better than Spectre. But Spectre to me is just a cool James Bond movie, like just cool. Anyways, Okay, so from here, this is where, when Madeline left, Bond said, "Where are you going?" She said, "Home." And
Yeah.
we later learn that that's something that she's established with James, that like, hey, if I ever say this, I'm going here.
Right.
So he plays coy with MI6. They're like, we need to find Madeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
they kind of figure out why Blofeld died. She must have this virus, blah, blah, blah. Bond plays stupid, but then Bond goes and visits her at home. And he learns that she has a daughter.
Yep.
Mind blown. Because, the first time I watched this, I remember thinking, is that Bond's?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like just immediate, like, oh, he put you on a train after you guys were doing some funky business. You were
Got a
probably
little
pregnant.
touchy.
Yeah, you were probably pregnant.
Yeah, I didn't, because I saw that and I'm thinking that kid's about 5 years old, give or take.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that was the last time they saw each other. I'm like, sure,
Math
that could be
checks
somebody
out.
else's, but I think
Nah.
it's Bond's.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she even like tells him it's not his, and I'm like, you lying.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Yeah.
But I get why she was telling him that.
Yes.
Because she knows he has to accomplish something and he can't have any emotional distraction.
Right.
So I understood that. I'm like, okay, I'm on board with this. So yeah, we learned she has a daughter, and through a bunch of this and that, we basically find out that there's an island that is probably where the base of operation is.
Yeah.
For forgot his name again.
Safan.
Yeah, thank you. So that becomes the primary objective, is getting to this island, figuring out, what's going on. Then the assassins come.
They always come.
With
good old Safan and
no. I want you to remember this because it was a nice surprise. Think about who Bond kills.
No, thought about. Fucking what's some boy's name? Christoph's character.
Ash.
Oh, yeah.
All right, look. I'm just gonna say it. He is the henchman.
Yeah.
Cyclops 100%. is a bitch.
Yes.
He was a placeholder. That is the henchman. And I actually didn't like his death, if I'm going to be honest. And it's because I liked him. It was a cool death. Like, Bond lets that fucking truck or whatever slide out on him when he's like, wait, help me, or whatever. And he's like, nah, you killed Felix, fuck you. But I liked him, so I didn't want him to die. So, but it was a cool way to kill somebody. Like, I'm just going to let this shit fucking fall on you.
Yeah, that whole sequence there is my favorite sequence of the movie. Like,
the reason I mentioned it the way I did without talking about it, I figured that would be yours.
Yeah,
because it was almost mine. So
it was like from the start, because you saw those two, I think they were Range Rovers, fly by, and you already know, like, they're going to hit a U-turn and come back around on them, because why wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of backpedaling, but this scene here, especially like when we realized, like, oh shit, y'all are compromised, was when I was like, he knew that about the kid. Because I'm like, the only way he knows about the kid and the bad guys know where they're at, or the only reason why the bad guys know where they're at, is because he knows about the kid and knows exactly where to send them. But like, so seeing him take on those two Range Rovers was cool as shit. He eliminated the first one, took out the second one, and you almost get to breathe for just a second before you realize there's an entire party coming for this dude.
Yeah.
On dirt bikes and other vehicles. And then he does his thing, but it was really the part in the forest with all that fog around,
Mm-hmm.
that sold it to me because I was like, that is a dope ass scene. I
It
love
is.
what they did with this. I love the direction they went with it. And then, like you said, Ash dying in that, and then the car before that, the dude on the dirt bike, he had that wire. I don't even remember where it came from, but he took the wire, put it on the tree, and then just dude almost decapitates himself, and he shoots him in the face, and then the car comes.
Yeah.
And
I
car
actually forgot about
flips.
that.
Ash
Because that's how it flips. Yeah.
Ash gets thrown out after Safan is like shooting through the car, flips.
Yeah.
He gets thrown out, and I like the build up before Bond just throws the car at him. Like he just had to let him get a couple words in before saying, "Yeah, fuck you. Here's a car."
Yep.
And then, of course, Safan gets Madeline and her daughter, or their kid, into the helicopter and takes off and goes from there. But yeah, that scene there was my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah, it is really well done. It's cool. I guess. Don't get me wrong. I guess I should say it right now. The cinematography throughout this entire movie is masterful.
Yes.
Like, this movie is very well filmed. It's well edited. And something I'm going to note on real quick. It's kind of off subject, but any scenes where we're in a car and we cut to up close, like Bond and Madeline talking in the beginning of the movie, you can tell that the car is probably not actually driving, right? Like a classic, like, oh, there's a green screen behind the car or whatever.
Right.
But the way they blur the windows in the background, it looks like artwork.
It does.
Like, it almost makes it, and it's probably the lens they're using.
Yeah, they're using the 65 millimeter IMAX film cameras.
Okay, well, there we go. So it's got that real shallow depth of field. And it really shows because they're crisp, but there's almost like a fisheye effect behind them, and everything's kind of just mosaic. And it's beautiful, honestly. It looks really cool. So I thought that was a cool way to mask that we're not really in a car that's driving right now. And the way they cut to the car driving and cut back into it, it just, I don't even have a second thought about it other than, wow, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just something I want to talk about because, like, especially in Pierce Brosnan movies, but even in Casino Royale, I remember I had some gripes with special effects.
Right. Yeah.
But Pierce Brosnan movies, it's like I remember the one movie where the plane's on fire, and they shot the plane from a distance being on fire. Great, like that looked real. But when he's in the plane and it's up close, the fire on the wing is going straight up instead of behind him. Like, wouldn't the wind be pushing that fire behind him? Like, what are we doing here? You know,
no science.
Yeah, just goofy shit like that. But yeah, I really appreciated the in-car cinematography.
Yes.
And yeah, they did a good job with that. So
no, I agree.
But yeah, the whole movie is filmed very well. So saying, oh, that would have been my favorite sequence, but it didn't have that cinematography magic that I want. It's just because this whole movie's at a higher level than other movies. So when there's something they do that's really special, it just stands out. And that, again, SEAL Team Spectre scene is just freaking awesome. So yeah. But yeah, this sequence, really cool. And that kind of gets us into our third act. Oh, you got some sunlight coming in there.
Yeah. We're going to continue having sunlight because I just broke the blinds. So
I'm going to ask you something.
Yes.
Before we even dive into this whole final act, did you like the premise of the final act? Meaning, did you like why they're going there, what they were planning to do? Did you think it was going to go that way?
I feel like it's a little more challenging to just say yes or no with that because it was necessary. but there was still some things about it that I don't know. It just was. It was just off. Like I don't know. It was weird. Like it was necessary to have that. It was
I agree.
necessary. Like certain parts of it was necessary, but then you have other parts where it's like, okay, you're only doing this for Bond's last moments.
Why did Madeline and what's the daughter's name? It starts with an M too.
I don't even know.
I can't remember.
Bond Jr.
It starts with an M.
I'm not even finding it on here.
Madeline's mother.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was Mathilda.
Matilda. It's Matilda. That's it. Thank you. Jeez, I knew it started with an M. I just couldn't remember. Did they really need to go to the island with James Bond? Okay, thank you.
No. But the only thing that makes sense is fucking Safan knew James would be going there no matter what, and he would have kind of a leg up on that situation because he has the two people that James cares more than anything about.
Correct.
So I see why, but at the same time, I don't know, it's kind of useless because James would still have gone there because he knows what's at stake.
Yeah.
So it just,
because I think we're supposed to believe that at this point he's like, okay, this dude wants to kill Madeline because she didn't do what he felt was owed to him.
Yes.
Which was killing, even though he dies. I don't know why it matters, but it's like he knows she walked out, so he's like, "Oh, you're dying," or maybe he's just coming for her daughter. But it's like either way, he's coming after her. Bond knows this, and in his head, it's probably like, "Okay, I got to make sure you're with me, so I know you're safe."
Right.
But it's like you're literally bringing them to where you think this dude is at.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you try to add to the story or give us context in. That just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I agree. It was really unnecessary to bring them there, but I just feel like it gave them a little more storyline, I guess, and a little more stress for the audience. Like
I was gonna say,
there's more at stake here.
Yeah, there's greater stakes because if it was just Bond going to this island and you feel like he's gonna die here, okay. But if he's gonna die there and you know that his daughter and love interest are like right there waiting for him to come out with them, it's a little different than knowing they're just out in the world somewhere waiting for him to come home from this mission.
Yeah.
So, and just to kind of jump into it, because I'll be honest, the final act isn't strong for me because
I agree.
There's a lot of like dialogue, and you're seeing more of the bad guy than what you normally want to see.
Yeah, it was very drawn out.
Yeah, because like even at the end of Spectre with Blofeld, like the dialogue is small, and the interaction with him and Bond is very brief before the whole fucking place starts blowing up. So I don't know. It was just like too much for me.
I agree. I think it was like 45 minutes altogether from like the moment he gets there with the new 007, and then she was like, give him the number back, and so
you notice I'm just skipping over that.
Oh yeah,
100%. I just was like, I don't care, dude. I don't care.
I mean, that was kind of useless, but it was like from the moment that him and her got there to end, it was just a straight. It was like 30 to 45 minutes, I think, and most of that was dialogue. There were some badass action scenes, especially when he, after he saved. I mean, we can bounce back a little bit, but after he saves Madeline and Matilda, like that little sequence there, I really enjoyed. I thought it was very well done. I liked the choreograph, and you felt like this. Oh my god!
Choking.
Yeah, you just felt like the stakes were still there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but the thing, it just kind of proves what we're saying, though, where you didn't need Madeline or Matilda there at all to, give more. Like the stakes were still there for Bond himself, but I don't know. It was a weird, drawn out sequence.
It was, and a lot of the stuff with the new 007, it felt like it was just forced in there to let us know, like, there's a new 007. It's like, she's not really bringing anything to this for me. But here's what's funny. So my rating was almost a 3.5, and it's solely because of the end sequence. But what's funny is this movie could have been a 4.5 because of the end sequence.
Yes.
Okay. And that's because from the point that Safin injects Bond with the nanobites, dogs, before he injects Bond with the nanobites, and he tells them these are going to kill Madeline and Matilda.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I can never touch them.
Well, I was confused by him getting injected because was it when he got scratched or cut or whatever?
No, he shoots the freaking thing and it.
See, I thought that was a regular bullet. I didn't realize that was the nanobites.
I took it as that had the nanobites on them.
Okay, that makes more sense then. Because I was just confused. Like,
unless I'm remembering incorrectly, I thought like right after that, and Bond's laying on the ground, that's when he tells him like, even if I can't kill you, I can make sure you never see the ones you love again or whatever. And I don't know. Either way,
I could have missed that part. I was a little distracted watching it this morning.
Oh, at work?
This afternoon.
Yeah, at work. Yeah, wonder why. Well, for me, that is where the emotional investment came in because I know that Bond wants to just retire and live a peaceful life because in the beginning of the movie, they established this, and then he freaking throws her on a train. He's like, I'm going to try this again by myself. Like, he is that determined to just have a peaceful life.
Yeah.
And it's like, now he knows he could have that and have a daughter.
Yeah.
Like, this dude wants this more than anything. Yes. Yeah. And he knows that if he clears this threat, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
Well, unless they wanted to make more Bond movies, I'm sure they can come up with something.
Absolutely.
But that's where I got interested in what was happening. Because I'm like, there's no way out of this. I can't hear you, Dima. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I muted it. Yeah.
For all of our viewers who are watching this down the road, Dima has a dog that tends to bark. To be honest, it's been a lot better than I thought it would be. Well, when you sent me a picture and I could tell you were upstairs, I was like, oh shit, dude. So it's been actually really, like, it's been fine.
Well, he's playing right now, which is why he's barking or making noise, because he has to make high-pitched, like, little squeal thing every time he plays. Right. So
yeah.
We're good now. Back to the movie.
Well, here's how much I really wasn't into the final act. Basically, up until the point I just told you, I was just kind of wanting it to end.
Yeah.
And then from here on, I'm like, oh, man, Bond's about to die.
Yep.
Like, for me, that's when it really set in. He is losing the one thing he is trying to live for. Because there's no way he's going to go back to living on an island in a shack knowing he's got a daughter out there, right? So it's like, and plus he knows Madeline never betrayed him.
Yeah.
That was all a scheme by Blofeld. So it's just like, he's going to die. I remember thinking that the first time I watched this movie, I was like, this dude is about to freaking off himself or something, but he's not going to try to survive.
No.
And I got to say, it is a glorious way to go out.
It is.
It's beautiful because he kills, I can't remember this dude's name.
Stefan.
Stefan, thank you. I don't know why. He kills him.
Yeah, that was kind of lame.
It was very lame.
But it makes sense if this dude's more of like he's just smart and that's like his superpower versus being a badass fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it makes sense for his character, but still was kind of lame for a final character or a final bad guy for his movies.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it was kind of like getting rid of the part I was having an issue with.
Yeah.
Because he went from being like something I'm supposed to believe is bigger than Spectre.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, this guy's kind of a bitch.
Right.
You know, like he's just kind of a one-off. Like there's no way they could have made 2 movies that had the same antagonist.
No.
Which
not
Blofeld was. Like
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz, that, you know, even if they hadn't a plan on doing 2 movies with him featured, because I don't know if that's ever happened with a Bond villain.
No, it hasn't.
I don't think it has. I haven't seen all the Bond movies, but
At least the ones that we've seen.
They
haven't.
In the zeitgeist of our Eye of Stone podcast, it hasn't happened.
Yes.
No, but just a testament to how good he was at that role.
Yes.
And there's no way, Rami Malek, love him as an actor, but there's just no way that this character he's portraying had that sauce, you know.
Right.
It just wasn't there. When he was a mystery, fuck yeah.
Yes.
And his first interaction with Madeline, I was like, okay, this guy doesn't have to do shit. He can sit in a chair and he's scary.
Yeah.
And that's where he should have stayed.
Yes.
You give him the typical bad guy island and the whatever. It's just like, okay.
But with they weren't going to make a second one. They knew that. So there wasn't really any other option they could have done with him other than just
I agree.
get him and kill him.
I'm just saying that as a character, like in the screenplay,
yeah,
not nearly as interesting or as much of a threat as Blofeld was.
Agreed.
Like, if you think about this entire series of films builds up to the reveal of Spectre and Blofeld. Like,
yeah,
I am your stepbrother or whatever, you know, like
right.
adopted brother. But like, it's just this culmination of all these things building up to this climax, and then he is worth the wait. He's worth the build.
Right.
You couldn't do that for Safin or whatever. It's just like I said, it's a one-off villain.
It is.
So his death was lame, but it worked for me because I'm like, yeah, get him the fuck out of here. Okay.
Right.
So Bond's got this virus. He's trying to escape the facility, and I think. Has he talked to Madeline on the radio prior to this, or is he getting up to where he can get the broadcast?
No, he doesn't talk to Madeline until pretty much right before he dies.
Yeah, because it's almost like he's trying to escape is what you think.
Yeah.
But then you realize he's like at the top of this motherfucker waiting for the missiles that are coming to eradicate the threat.
His fate.
Which the missiles are from MI6, right? Or is that the CIA?
It was from the whoever their Navy is over there.
But who gave the order for them though?
Oh, MI6.
That's what I thought. Because if it's the CIA, it's different. But yeah, so MI6 is essentially doing this knowing they have no asset there on their end, right? So
but M was still hesitant to make that call.
He was
because Bond was there.
Yeah, but it still got made.
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of tells you, like, we're done. You know, this guy's already retired as an agent.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So as soon as you realize, like, oh, he's not trying to escape.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get to where he can see the sky and get some fresh air.
I was almost wondering, like, is he going to do this to fake his death so Madeline and his daughter would never have to look for him and he just lives alone and suffers for the rest of his life?
You know, I kind of contemplated that, but then like I said, I don't think this version of Bond would want to live knowing he's got something out there he can't touch.
Yeah.
No, or be around in any capacity. You know, it was different when he thought Madeline betrayed him.
Right.
But now he knows that she's the only thing he can ever trust fully.
Yeah.
and they have a child together. Like, yeah,
Right.
I think he was ready to die.
I agree.
He was ready to end his suffering.
Yeah. I agree.
But I gotta say, I'm already like, okay, he can't go touch his daughter or the love of his life because he's infected with this bio weapon that will kill them if he goes anywhere near them. But then you have their conversation on the radio, and she then reveals to him, Matilda is your daughter.
Yep.
And the look on Daniel Craig's face, man, I was just like, wow, like that was powerful. Yeah. And then you want to talk about powerful? This motherfucker looks up, and it's just raining missiles.
Yeah. Just gets obliterated.
And he's just like, he takes it. He's quivering for it.
Fucking took it like a champ.
Yeah. And then, the ending of the movie, like I said, there's never a good way to end things that you enjoy or love. But they did a nice job, like showing that people did care about Bond. They had that camaraderie. They're all hanging out, kind of reminiscing, whatever. And you see Madeline driving the car on the same road that her and Bond drove on.
Yeah.
And she's telling her the story about her dad.
Yep.
And it ends, and it's like, wow, man, that's what sucks. Like the third act, like if it had been if there had been better motivation for why Madeline and Matilda were there, why Bond would even want them there.
Right.
And if we got a little bit less of Safin, like if he was just more of this shadowy figure, and then once Bond confronts him, he's able to kill him.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. Like we didn't expect him to be a physical threat.
Right.
He's just been a mastermind behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But it could have been, again, a 4.5 for me.
Right.
So, but I settled on a 4. I was bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
I settled on a 4 because Spectre for me is a 4.5.
Okay.
It's almost a perfect movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I just that damn third act, man. It was just so close. Like the movie is so close to being just gold.
Yeah.
And it's just a good movie. Like I said, I don't feel like it's a Bond movie through and through,
right.
but
there's a good closure.
You can't have a James Bond movie where you've got this side narrative of trying to sell me on his replacement,
right?
And then you want me to care.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, you want me to care? Put some more story. Give me more depth on this person. She can't just be someone who shows up and is an annoyance to James Bond, And then she makes little snarky remarks about, I'm 007 now. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
It just didn't work for me. It didn't work for me.
I think that was her whole point, is like she was just some because we felt the same way that James felt about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they wanted, was like, yeah, we went from him being James Bond to this random ass person who's suddenly 007. And it's just like, why? Like, that's dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
Well, I gotta say, you telling me that Hans Zimmer did the score for this, I'm thinking about the music at the end of the movie, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was one of my comments. I didn't do my normal research on this movie. Yeah. I just wanted to watch it. And that's why my notes are kind of like vague, because I really just wanted to watch this movie. And then I was going to watch the credits, because I usually do. And then that's where I would see, Hans Zimmer did the score for this. But I didn't, because, I had to finish it at work, just like you. So. And it just totally escaped my mind. I don't think I ever knew that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hey, you got to bring in the big dogs for a big show. So that's cool. And I actually want to see who did the I want to see who the DP was for this movie, because like I said, the cinematography is just amazing. Like it's got like Greg Fraser written all over it. Let's see here. Oh no, it is.
Oh yeah. No Time to Die.
I'm not familiar with this person. Linus Sandgren.
I don't think I've ever.
I believe they did American Hustle, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't really a fan of that movie, but it was shot beautifully.
Stunt Double, La La Land, Saltburn, First Man, Storm, Babylon. I haven't seen anything he's done other than this.
No, I was wrong. I have not. Okay, I've seen La La Land. Oh yeah, American Hustle. There's American Hustle. Nope. I've literally seen nothing else that he's done. Okay.
This movie was the only one that I've seen.
And I mean, that's just director of photography. He has been the cameraman on some other things that I've seen, like The Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Okay.
There was another one I just saw. No, I don't know where it went. But anyways, okay. Well, you know what? The direction of photography was masterful, so kudos to him.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it on the James Bond.
Wrapped up.
So, yeah, we've covered all of Pierce Brosnan's movies, and we have covered all of Daniel Craig's. And for anybody who tries to go and fact check that, yes, Spectre has been removed. I hate that because it was a really good episode. Because we took a deep dive into that movie.
Right.
And it was well deserved because that movie, you know, it almost has like that noir detective feel. Like Bond is rogue. Like he's no longer with MI6 and he is just trying to find who's behind everything that has pretty much sabotaged his life as he knows it. And it's just cool. Him being on his own, no resources, trying to get shit done. I don't know. That's what sold me on this Bond to begin with was like this grounded, I'm on my own, fuck MI6, you know. So Spectre is definitely my favorite in the series. I think Casino Royale is a great movie. But just in terms of like a big movie feel, Spectre and Skyfall are just really good.
Yeah, Skyfall is just on a whole other level though for me with this. Like
the ending of Skyfall is so good. That's a good third act. That is a great final act. Yes. Anyways, okay. So yeah, we have wrapped it up. No more 007 for now. We might eventually one day do some older ones. Or if we get a new James Bond, you know. That's an if, because they haven't announced who it would be yet, and I feel like they should have by now. Because this came out in like what, 2021?
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah, so
Henry
you think
Cavill.
you think they would have at least had a casting for it
right
at this point, but I don't know. Anyways, I guess, you know, going forward, we're going to do The Lord of the Rings, like we discussed. And that'll be for these Wednesday streams, which I don't think we're going to do this every week, but it'll be, you know, a couple of month thing probably.
Yeah.
Would probably be how that would work best. Maybe like 2 movies a month, something like that. Because we're going to have our episodes every Saturday, so that'll be the normal episode.
Right.
Now, speaking of that, I have a new segment I'm going to be doing, which I'll credit the person who asked about our side TikTok for this idea. You know, I review these movies that I find at Half Price Books. And I found one called 1114, and I was so excited about it because it said, in the vein of Crash and Memento, I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking awesome. It was fucking trash. It's a terrible movie. I mean, it's terrible. And that inspired me to bring back a character called the Yeti and make a little segment where I said farewell to 1114.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Alrighty.
if you have made or make a shitty movie and I or Dima just happen to watch it, something bad might happen to it. I gotta tell you, dude, it was so weird putting that Yeti mask on.
It's been a while.
It's been years. I put that thing on and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I am a grown-ass man, dude. But to be fair, that movie was garbage and it honestly deserved like an airstrike. Like, if I could have called somebody up in the military and be like, hey, I'm throwing this movie out in a freaking cornfield. Can you just drop some bombs on it? And I'd film it. That'd be a great segment. Like, you just see that. I don't even have to be the Yeti. I can just be on the roof with a cell phone and you see like the jets flying over, and then I have like an arrow saying 1114. Like, that's the location. And then it resumes the film and they fly over the field and it just and then I run out there and I piss on the field.
Yep.
Dude, I'm telling you, that movie pissed me off. Like, you can't tell me this is like one of my favorite movies and then tell me it's like one of the most trippy movies I've ever seen by one of my favorite directors, Christopher Nolan. And then it's nothing like either of them. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I almost want... So Dave Chappelle did a skit called The Time Traveling Pimps. And it's funny because they're dressed like pimps. Like, they got the fluffy fur coats and the canes and shit.
Oh, my God.
They travel back to, like, the early, like, 1900s, late 1800s, and they're slapping slave owners and shit. And it's fucking hilarious. Well, I need a similar machine, but I just fly back to, like, I don't know. I think that movie was made in the early 2000s. Dude, I slap the fuck out of everyone who thought that movie was a good idea. Like, yeah, I'm here to see the writers of 1114. Thank you. And then they show me to the room and they're all like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And I'm just fucking whack. That was terrible. It was really bad.
Well, I won't be watching that one.
And, you know, the whole point of the segment I'm doing is letting people know, like, hey, I haven't seen this movie.
Yeah.
I gave it a shot and I recommend it. And if I don't recommend it, I feel like I need to let you know how terrible it was.
By the Yeti stomping on it.
Yeah, that's when we call the Yeti in.
Here for it.
It's terrible. It's cringe. But hey, we're good at cringe. So
that we are.
Yeah, so the next episode of Franchise Hump Day will be on Lord of the Rings.
Let's see.
And we should have our good friend Matt Jones on here as well, giving his insights into this franchise. We'll call it a trilogy because we're just going to do the 3 films for now. Obviously, there's the Hobbit movies, but I think it'd be cool to do the Lord of the Rings and then come back to the Hobbit down the road.
Okay.
I personally like the Lord of the Rings movies a lot better than the Hobbit. The Hobbit movies are good, but Lord of the Rings is just like god tier cinema. It really is. Like, it, especially if you watch the extended cuts. I mean,
Okay.
it's just it'll take up most of your day if you watch all 3 of them, but you won't be mad.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm excited to do those, especially since now I know that you haven't watched any of them. So
Low delay.
yeah. And just so you guys know at home, if you happen to enjoy the Yeti destroying a movie segment, we have a lot more things we're going to do like that. Dimitri and myself have definitely accepted the fact that we are really good at doing cringy shit. And I think we're good at it because we, in our opinion, don't care about it. So we don't care about anything with it. And I think that level of not caring is what makes it so funny to people. You know what I mean? Because it's like when we care about something, we like lock it down. Like, there's a lot of shit we've done that no one's ever seen before and probably no one ever will. And that's just how we are. But yeah, I don't know. Our cringy shit works. So we'll do more stuff like that. Theo, stop it. Dogs. Like here, I'll just show people right now what's going on over here. Look at this.
Oh, God. Poor Theo.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. But see, he comes over here to the hindquarters, and he's got a pathetic looking tail right now because he keeps gnawing on it. And it makes me want to tell him, to quit being a fucking idiot. But then he's all cute and shit. He's like,
He
what
looks
I
so
do?
innocent there.
Yeah. Look, there he goes. He's trying to go for it right now. Fucking ridiculous. But this is what he's been doing this whole time. And then he'll come down on the floor and his big freaking tail will whack the camera. Oh, look. Yeah, he's like, what, me? Look at this shit. He gives me this puppy dog face. Fucking ridiculous. Well, I think this has been a good first live stream demo.
Yeah.
We probably could be better at not wasting time, but you know, it was a first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of things to work on. But seriously, oh my God, we're almost 2 hours in.
Yeah.
I was thinking we'd be on for an hour.
Oh, I knew it'd be like 2 hours.
Good Lord. You know, I guess that makes sense because our podcast episodes were always at least 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's been good talking about this movie. It feels good now that we're giving a proper send off to Daniel Craig's time as James Bond. It's still weird though because I will still say that Pierce Brosnan is my James Bond.
Yeah.
Personally, like he will just always be that iconic. Like the look, the video games, it's just hard to not say that he is James Bond.
Yeah.
But Daniel Craig, God, man, the version of James Bond we got from him is something we've never seen before. We'll probably never see again. Hopefully not. I hope they don't try to copy it. You know what I mean?
It won't work.
Yeah. Because we'll get to a point to where they're going to start casting James Bond roles. Like, say it was Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And they make a movie. It's going to feel like fucking Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
It won't even feel like James Bond anymore. You know what I mean? Because they're going to feel like they have to get bigger and outdo what these movies did. And it's like, no, we just need to try something different.
Yeah. He'll be going to space here soon.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Even if they decide to do what Hollywood seems to do, like, oh, let's do gender swap and whatever.
Yeah.
Fine. Make it make sense. Make it good.
Yeah.
Quit worrying so much about trying to appease people or trying to impress people because you're considerate of people's beliefs and how they identify. Just make a good story that makes sense. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I'm all for people doing whatever they want to do and saying they are whatever they want to be. I don't care. Doesn't affect my life at all. But if you're going to make me watch a movie and you put a title on it that is a title that I associate with being awesome, you got to give me something awesome.
Yes, agreed.
So if they were trying to suggest that we might get a, you know, female James or female 007 franchise down the road, fine, make it make sense, make it good, and cast somebody who can actually act.
Yeah.
Because I would say she didn't have enough screen time to really sell us on it, but they honestly gave me more of her than I think they needed to.
Yeah.
You know, again, Christoph Waltz, I think it's less than 12 minutes total screen time in both movies and way less dialogue.
Yeah.
And he sold me on his character.
Killed it.
You know? So it's the actor. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll say the writing for that character didn't work too well either. But if it was Christoph Waltz playing the new 007, I would have been like, okay. You know, that's my point.
I think it was just more to show like, yeah, he got replaced. That's all. I think that's all it was.
Yeah. And again,
it wasn't anything serious.
Going for the shock factor, they get a black female, like the opposite of what James Bond's always been, a white male. It's like, oh, let's just go for shock factor.
Yeah.
You know, no, I don't care what they look like. I don't care what they are. Make them a good actor. Make it be somebody who's going to sell me this idea.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, I meant to talk about this, but like during the movie, I never felt like anyone really believed she was 007 still.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't convinced. She like, just didn't have the vibe.
Yeah, like Q wanted James Bond. He wanted Daniel Craig. M, even though he's in denial about it, wants Daniel Craig, James Bond.
Yeah.
Moneypenny definitely wants James Bond.
Yes.
It's like, come on. and Felix isn't out there trying to recruit the new 007. Felix is out there looking for James Bond.
Yes.
So even the CIA is like, 007 doesn't mean shit. Like, that's just a number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're trying to sell me on this shit. It's like, no one even cares.
Right.
If you don't have a character in the movie that cares, why would the viewer care?
Exactly.
So that's my little rant about that. It wasn't big enough for me to like dislike the movie at any degree. But when she was on the screen, I was just kind of like looking at my phone and stuff,
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right, we should go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say?
No. I said it all for
Profound.
this movie. I mean, it was a great send off. I don't see any other way they could have or should have finished Daniel Craig's James Bond off any other way. They ended up winning a couple of awards. They were nominated for a few more. They had an 83% Rotten Tomato score, so yeah, it was solid. I mean, I feel like just based on the little research that I did with it's pretty. I feel like most people will agree with what we have said in the past hour and 51 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm satisfied.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited to get into Lord of the Rings. So
Yes.
I can't say that enough, especially now knowing that you've never watched them. That just kind of blew my mind.
Yep, never, not once.
Can I ask, was that like you weren't interested, or was that on the can't watch list?
No, it was just one of those where I just never got around to it.
Okay. Because when I watched them when I was younger, like I wanted to watch them because my dad was excited about them.
Yeah.
My dad never read the books or anything.
Right.
He just thought it looked like a cool movie.
Yeah.
So like naturally, I was like, oh yeah, it does look cool. I had no idea there was this whole like fandom behind, this IP. I didn't know it was like already an established cartoon prior to this. And, whatever. So yeah,
it's just one of those I never got around to.
Yeah.
In my adult life, I'll be honest, I forgot about them. And it'd get brought up or something, and I wouldn't be home, and it wasn't one of those where I'd write it down and be like, "Oh, I'll watch it later." I'd forget about it after the conversation and call it a day.
Yeah, like not to say they're in the same like realm of like storytelling, but you like Game of Thrones, you're gonna like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about the franchise itself, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and it's solely just like the setting, the fantastical elements.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get on board with that kind of stuff, the story in Lord of the Rings is really awesome. The bad guy, like the big bad, feels like an absolute threat, more than probably in any other movie. Like they did a great job of building up to this being, which I won't say too much. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's cool. It's really cool. And you just always feel like there's a threat and there's like something they've really got to tackle, and it's cool. So yeah, I'm excited, really excited to get into them. But all right, we're going to wrap this up, guys. Thank you for tuning in to our first franchise Hump Day, where we wrapped up our 007 Tuesdays on a Wednesday. And yeah, going forward, we're going to do some Lord of the Rings, and we will have more polls where we get other franchises that you guys would want us to discuss and break down. And we'll try to get more special guests. So yeah, until next time, we will see you guys later, and tune in on this Saturday for our next episode.